Hi, I'm Sean James. I am a Master Gardener and a graduate of the Niagara Park School of Horticulture, and we're here to help you learn stuff. And today we're going to talk about renovating your lawn. So, what do we need? We need safety gear, steel-toed boots. I should switch out my glasses and put on my my really dorky safety glasses, and gloves. And we have ourselves a dethatcher, which is a funky machine that scrapes the top of the soil. We have a hard rake or gravel rake. We have a fan rake or leaf rake. We have a roller that we're going to fill up only 1/3 with water, and we have some grass seed. So, renovating a lawn, there are good and not so good times to do it. Early spring is the best time, followed by late summer, early fall. And then you can also do something called dormant seeding, where you wait until it's good and cold, like the end of October, early November, and it's going to stay cold. And then you do this whole process we're going to do today, and nothing happens until spring. It just stays dormant all winter long, and then as soon as the weather's ready, it's ready to go and it grows. So dormant seeding is probably my favorite way to go, but most people are going to do it in early spring or late summer, early fall. Well, that was easy. The other way that you can do this is with a hard rake, and it is a lot of work. If you don't want to rent a dethatcher, you can take one of these and you're gonna loosen up the top of this. And that's gonna do the same thing of knocking off the peaks and filling in the valleys, but it's hard. So the power dethatcher is a much better way to do it. So once that's done, now you can take a rake and just gently break off the thatch, the organic matter that's on the surface. If I wasn't overseeding, then I would probably just leave the thatch to compost down naturally. But if I take all of this off, I can put it on the compost pile, and eventually that will be my landscape gold. And we're going to pull that down and away. What kind of seed do we want to use? Well, grass seed. Although some people top dress with clover because that's going to fertilize the lawn every day. So I like to use a mix of tall fescue and perennial rye. And particularly rhizomatous tall fescue and rhizomatous perennial rye. Those have runners, so it naturally, we call it self-healing. It thickens up the grass every day, like Kentucky Blue does. The difference being, most lawns are Kentucky Blue, so you got a whole bunch of diseases and insects out there that find Kentucky Blue to be a buffet, okay? Now, also, when it's dry in the summertime, Kentucky Blue will go dormant. It looks dead, it just falls asleep, it comes back from those rhizomes under the ground. Tall fescue and perennial rye don't go dormant because their roots are like 6 feet deep, and they have a beneficial fungus in the roots that releases a bitter tasting chemical that actually repels insects. So that's pretty cool. Those two things give it a huge advantage to me. Perennial rye is a little more shade tolerant. If I was doing it in the shade, I would be using something like Chewing's fescue, which is related to red fescue. It's a subspecies. Chewing's fescue is the most shade tolerant. Red fescue is pretty darn good. I like to get custom mixes, but you know, if you're just doing a little bit, then you can just go to the hardware store and get what you need, or the garden center. Now, a little word on aerating. A lot of people are going to aerate the lawn. If you want, the reason we aerate is because the turf gets compressed. If you want your lawn to be aerated, just put down just a little bit of compost, like that much, a centimeter, half quarter of an inch, somewhere around there, of compost over the lawn. That's going to support the whole soil microbiome. All the little creepy crawlies that live in the soil, things like worms and so on, they're going to aerate the soil for you. And also, you're promoting the things that release nutrients in the soil, the beneficial bacteria and fungi that release the nutrients for the plants. So that's a better thing to do than actually renting an aerator, just a little bit of compost every year. Now, when I seed, most people seed too thick. They cover the ground in seed. Oh, that's going to do the job. A little more will do the job. Well, when all that comes up, it comes up as a mass. It looks like hair. And people are all really happy. They think they did the job. It's going to suffocate itself. It's going to choke itself out. You actually want the seeds to be half an inch to an inch apart. And that doesn't look like much. It doesn't even look like much when it starts coming up. But that's the thickness that you want. If you're overseeding, you want about 3 times the regular rate. That's still about half an inch. So about an inch apart if you're doing a fresh lawn, and about half an inch if you're overseeding. You can get fancy spreaders. The bigger the job, you might want to think about a spreader. Honestly, I like doing it the old-fashioned way. And I'm going to do it in 2 directions. I'm going to do it at half strength in one direction and at half strength in the other direction, so that I get a good even seeding. I'm less likely to miss a little bit if I do it that way. And I'm doing it like old people sowed seed in the farm. So we're just going to take it and we're going to make little circles with it and slowly let it go. That's how you sow. And then I'm going to go the opposite direction. Now I can start stepping on it. I've been avoiding stepping on it because it was all nice and loose before. We're really not using very much seed. Now, if you have a weed problem, I want to do a whole other video on weeds, but if you have a weed problem, thickening up the lawn is going to do a lot to help reduce that problem. Weeds need light to germinate, and grass doesn't. Grass would like to be right at the surface. You can shade out the weeds with a good thick lawn. This is the best way to reduce your weed population in your lawn. Besides that, I would say, if you can't beat them, join them. I'm pretty weed tolerant. So, once that's done, then we're going to take our rake, and we're going to go back and forth with the rake, tines down, and we're going to just put a little downward pressure on the rake, and that's going to work the seed slightly into the top of the earth. Just a little bit of pressure. And now we're going to take our roller and roll the lawn. We've got our roller. We filled it only a third full of water. All we're trying to do is get good seed to soil contact. So what we did there is we've got our little fill thing, and so I don't overfill it. I rotate that down when I'm filling it with the hose, so it's only a third up. I can't overfill it that way. Okay? And then super, super simple. All we do is trip over it. Then we just drag it all the way up. And all the way back down. You can rent these, or you can buy one. You're probably not going to use it that often. So this is not what we're using to get rid of the bumps and the dips. that was the dethatching and the raking. Okay, this just gets the soil tight to the seed. That's it. Now, if it's really dry, you might want to water the seed lightly. If you water it heavily, the seed all washes away and it ends up at the bottom of the hill. You just want to lightly water it. Most people overwater seed. And eventually, it's going to take a little while to germinate. You're going to get 9 days on your perennial rye, and 14 days on your tall fescue, and 21 days, that's really easy math there, on the Kentucky Blue. That's what you're going to get for germination rates, how long it takes to germinate. Sometimes your seed's going to have annual rye, and we call that a nurse crop. It starts growing in, and it starts to protect the more delicate seeds that are coming up underneath them. That's about it. You want to give it 1 inch of water a week for the first couple of months. Usually we want people to water seldom but deeply. So instead of standing there with a hose, you want to do once a week, 1 inch deep, once it starts to germinate. And that's how you renovate a lawn. Thanks very much. I'm Sean James.